Struggling to discuss sex and intimacy with your partner?
Not feeling met, seen, or heard in your relationships?
I'm Janelle.
And I'm Andrea. We're two midlife mavericks sharing our own experiences.
Messy AF and no regrets.
With marriage, divorce, polyamory, and pleasure.
We've learned that when you're brave enough to figure out what you want and ask for it,
with partners, friends, family, and most importantly, yourself,
you'll feel more alive and free.
Question everything, especially your mother's advice.
There's no rom-com formula for this, but don't panic.
Being alone matters. Honey, I can't miss you if you don't leave.
What if your breakup could be your breakthrough?
Our podcast is for brave hearts.
Anyone who seeks or has found the courage to confront their fears and limiting beliefs about breaking societal norms in the spirit of finding their truth.
If you're seeking permission to be brave in your relationships
and want to feel less alone along the way, we got you.
I interviewed Janelle in this episode, and you would think this would be something that we've continuously discussed before, and we have discussed some of it, but there is so many new things coming in, so many ways that the divine can show up in your life, and so many ways that you can be open to receive it. Brave hearts, this is where love begins. This is where life begins. This is where freedom begins.
Mm-hmm. And purpose.
And purpose. If you can trust yourself, value what that message is, and learn to ask for what you want, and then act upon what you want, a relationship with spirit can truly lift you up. This is the explanation you're going to hear in this episode.
Yeah, it's edgy, right?
It is.
Like, we just finished this episode, and I'm like, whoo, all right, it's so personal. It's so intimate. It's to like, just because, and every single person's relationship to spirit is their own. But you know, I did my best, and I'm proud of myself in some ways of like finding ways to express what feels impossible to define.
Yeah. You learn how to reduce your resistance to that message, and learn a little bit more about letting go of form, how your spirituality can look any way you want it to. We'll see you in there. Hi, brave hearts. We're so glad you're here. Welcome to Permission to Be Human. I'm Andrea.
And I'm Janelle. And welcome to our first episode of season 5. How to build a relationship with God, with spirit, with the divine, with the universe, whatever it is that you call it, call that thing that is greater than ourselves. Yeah. And, you know, we like to go deep, brave hearts. And so this episode, this season, we decided, like, how deep can we go? This is it.
Yeah. Remember, we used to do taboo topics, and we still do, but we used to spread them out a little bit more. You know, purpose and pleasure and motherhood and menopause. And now we're talking about God. And as with all of our episodes in the past couple seasons, we will interview each other. We will interview experts. Is there really such a thing as expert on God? I'm not sure. Different perspectives. And of course, we'll interview brave hearts. And the first one up, of course, is Janelle.
Woohoo!
So here we go. And this is a big one because, oh man, Janelle definitely talks about spirit and the divine probably more than anyone else I know. I have learned a lot from her about this. This is definitely, it's a hot topic. It's right up her alley. So, Janelle, how did you first start building a relationship with spirit? Let's call it what you call it. What do you want to call it on today?
Today? Yeah, let's see. Probably the divine is what's going to end up flowing through me. But okay. I might use it interchangeably with spirit and God as well. Okay. And it's really, I'm sitting here kind of laughing at your reflection about that I'm the person who talks about spirit the most, because that's just a sign that I have changed. I have evolved. I did not consider myself spiritual until the last I don't know, 5-7 years. And it was not a topic that I ever spoke about. It was not a way of being. It all started way back when I was born. I'm born from, my mom was a former Catholic nun. My dad's a former Catholic priest, right? So I was obviously raised Catholic, and I went to church every Sunday. But I did not go to Catholic school. I'll just name that because I think a lot of people who went to Catholic school have it's a whole other layer of things. But in high school, I started to feel disconnected from the dogma. Their stance on homosexuality, women, abortions. I was like deeply pro-choice, protesting. And my dad and I had disagreements in conversations about all these different topics. And these were hard conversations that I had with my dad. But interestingly, somehow he felt that the dogma could be separated from the love of Jesus Christ. Like, he wasn't growing up telling me that homosexuals were bad, or he just was just like, but and it wasn't like abortions are bad. He was just like, a baby and a fetus is good.
So you're saying he separated the dogma from the love of Jesus Christ, which is, I think that's huge. Like, that's awesome, because that really is, anyway, it's such a big topic. Like, but that's the problem, right? There's something, because Jesus was a great guy, right? It's just the church that fucked everything up, in my opinion. And so you're saying he separated this out for you in the beginning.
Yes. Like, ultimately, he was like, he's like, you can still love Jesus and believe women should have rights and be priests. Like, he didn't feel that there was a conflict there, right? But I did. I was like, I can't be part of a church that still has a stance that is against how I believe. Yeah, what my dad believed ultimately in his decision to leave the church was that his love of Jesus Christ could be more fully expressed through loving my mom and having a family, which is a very progressive stance.
Absolutely. Okay. So then what happened?
Yeah. So, I went to college. I stopped going to church unless I was home visiting my parents for a long time. And I just called myself a non-practicing Catholic. I wasn't spiritual at all. And there were times actually I wasn't even sure if I believed in God. Yet when my mom died when I was 34, after a 3-year fight with cancer, I totally believed that she went to heaven because she believed in it. And I was comfortable with that paradox within me. Like, I didn't have to believe in heaven for me to know that my mom went to heaven.
Wow. That's a big paradox. And yet I think this is an important paradox to point out, that I think there's plenty of people that live in this paradox every day. Not this particular one, but in paradox in some way with their belief. Because things just don't always match up. And it's a lot of work to be like, shit, that doesn't match up. How do I resolve that? Wow, that's powerful.
And right, and my mom's faith was so deep that I supported her in her faith. Like, I didn't have any qualms about what she believed for herself. And then an interesting thing happened. It was she passed away 17 years ago. And it took a while, like several years, but eventually I started praying to her. She became my connection to spirit and God.
Okay, so did you have a prayer practice before then?
No.
Okay, so you started praying on a regular basis.
It wasn't like, oh, I'm like kneeling at the base of my bed with my hands up, like prayers. No,
there is an image that I got there.
Yes. No, that was not what I was doing. But it would be, I'd be someplace and I'd be like, Mom, and I'd have a conversation with her. I need help, or like there was just this dialogue, sometimes external, sometimes internal, so my mom was this gateway essentially. And recently, a dear friend who knew my mom well, when I shared with her how I started praying to God after my mom passed away, because I kind of equated my mom as, I don't say equated my mom as God, but there was some relationship to that she said, well, your mom was your bridge to God. And that hit me really deeply. This was only a few months ago. Because in this way, I feel like my mom sacrificed her life in order for her daughter to have a relationship with God.
Boom.
Like,
woo. Wow. Okay. Just receiving that.
mm-hmm. And obviously this isn't like conscious, she was sick for a long time, but there's like the fulfillment and the love and the freedom that I feel as a result of my relationship to the divine and to God now, right? My mom helped deliver to me after she passed.
Okay, so Janelle, what I'm hearing is that you had some early questions about religion and God and how that fit into the world, how it fit into your belief. You had support. Your dad understood the difference. And you went away from the church for a while. And then the death of your mother helped you, in a sense, come back into building a relationship with spirit.
Yes, I would say I've never gone back to the church. So when I was 40, so 6 years after my mom had passed, I met my boyfriend who became my husband. Right? And he was deeply spiritual. And he met me at a time that I wasn't. Like, my relationship with my mom had not still blossomed yet at that point.
Mm-hmm.
And he didn't try to convince me of anything. But I do believe that our relationship was an early catalyst to my awakening. This awakening is what I'm calling this relationship to a God that I also say is not outside of me. It's within me. And psychedelics and Tantra were other catalysts to this developing relationship and awakening and being connected to something larger than myself.
Okay, so you just said that the spirit is within you, but you're also being connected to something larger than myself. Can we chop that up?
Yeah. maybe it's back to me comfortable living in paradox, but like, in a way it's like, oh, I'm bigger than this human version of Janelle. Like, the divine that lives within me is bigger than the human portion of me.
Yeah, that's a really curious statement. Like, the divine living in you is bigger than your human being. Is that what you said?
I've never said this out loud, but like, there's an aura around me, right? It's my soul, my body, human is within that, but it's also like bigger than that. And then the relationship to like spirit, to God, is also beyond the soul. That's like this one. That's like this one life where we're all one thing.
Okay.
And so we're having this conversation 10 years in to my deep spiritual journey home to myself. And so when I say I'm coming home to myself, there's this human self, and inside this human self is this divine aspect. There's so many words we can call these things. Like, there's the void, the dark, the monad, the one life. These are all synonyms to this essence that is nothing and everything from which life comes from.
Nothing and everything. Let's just continue with the paradox. Yeah.
And Brave Hearts, I'm just going to say, feeling a little vulnerable because I don't know that there are experts on this topic. We are all each talking about our own experience, and yet trying to put words to the ineffable it's a vulnerable place to be like, here's my experience. How can I put words to a feeling and to a state of being that is very hard to describe? And I know that my experience is mine. I'm not saying to anyone listening, this should be your experience. I'm just trying to express to you mine. And I think the reason why this is even worth a conversation and why this is worth an episode, an entire season, is because for me, this feeling of having a relationship to the divine has led me to a much deeper sense of fulfillment and freedom. And I want that for everybody. Regardless of how they get there or what it looks like, that feeling is why I'm talking about this.
Wow, that's a huge statement. So, I mean, I hear that you're finding it, you're owning it in your own way, and you're encouraging others and leading the way for others to find that too, whatever it looks like.
Mm-hmm.
And when you say that, what does it look like? What are you talking about? Like, I know you mentioned that it's hard to describe this feeling, but maybe it's important to say, what does your spirituality look like on a regular basis? What are you talking about?
So I believe, so my dad's 94 now, and I believe, to the best of my mind's understanding, that he and I believe and experience the same thing.
Oh.
Which is this permeating sense of love. His path was through the Catholic Church, which aligned for him through his love of Jesus Christ. But it got him to a place of like, oh, like there's just this love that we are all part of. Yeah, like my journey was through Tantra and psychedelics. And when Dad and I have conversations, he'll be like, I don't understand your vocabulary per se. Like, I don't know the words you're using, but I feel you. I feel you in this permeation of like love. And so in that way, like my dad was kind of attached to his way, right? The Catholic Church, Jesus Christ, like that's the way to get to this feeling where I'm like, no. The feeling is the thing. Whatever way you take is totally fine. So when I'm not leading or like leading anyone down a very specific path, I'm just saying this is the path that worked for me. Whatever path works for you is great. But there is a feeling that comes from having a relationship to the divine within me that has me connected to all beings in the world. I would not want to live if I did not have that feeling any longer.
Okay, so you said a lot there. So what's coming up for me is something that we talk about a lot on the podcast is letting go of form, right? Your dad had his way, you had your way. You know, you both reached love. Just like a bicycle wheel with different spokes coming to the same center. Kindness, love, connection with the world. So I'm gonna try again though to get a little more concrete and grounded because what I asked is like, what does this look like on an everyday basis?
Okay.
Like, what are a few things, just like maybe 3 examples of how this looks at your house when you're flying across the country? When you're recording a podcast.
Yeah.
When you're driving to yoga.
So I'll say how it looks like. So I'm at home at the goddess temple. In the morning, I wake up, I make my cacao, and I sit in front of my altar. I'll light a candle for myself. I'll light a candle for my ancestors. I'll light incense. And I whether I'm meditating, whether I'm praying, whether I'm pulling an oracle card, I'm just sitting in presence and appreciation and gratitude. So that's one way it looks. Another way it looks, which is a new way, it's like something new has unlocked in me, is feeling connected to the trees and to the plants. And so now I go around my house saying good morning to all my plants, and I'll like go outside and say hi to the trees. And there's this, I can't explain it, brave hearts, but I now can feel like I now have a green thumb because I can feel the energy of these plants and these animals. And so there's something new there that has me feel connected. And so there's like I feel like that's a sort of prayer.
Okay. So the last we heard in your story, you'd met your boyfriend, then husband, who was quite spiritual, and his influence along with Tantra and psychedelics had led you towards spirituality.
Mm-hmm.
So what happened next on that journey?
If I was to when I look at the arc of my life in terms of a timeline, I would say from 0 to 40, I was very closely associated to my human personality, my individual self.
Mm-hmm.
And I was very happy and comfortable with that. I wasn't a seeker. I wasn't in conflict, but I wasn't seeking God. But I was also aware that I hadn't had a life experience that spiritually challenged me. And I equated those to having kids or having a close experience of death myself. There was nothing that was like pulling me that was like, no, you have to make a decision because what kind of school are you going to send your kids to or whatever.
Interesting. Let's just stop for a bit. Like, you're kind of equating that parent role with having to make decisions about who you are because you're about to raise this child and influence them and plan their life for them.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
And in that way too, just my relationship with my husband, right? What kind of wedding ceremony were we going to have? Right? Like we had we were having conversations, and so suddenly I was no longer just like a solo person moving through the world. Once I became in relationship to other, in my case, I didn't have kids, but like had I had kids, like these types of relationships would have required me to go inward to have these decisions.
But how did you decide about the ceremony for the wedding, for example? I mean, I think that's a perfect example.
We had a very non-traditional ceremony outside. It wasn't religious at all. And it was hard. My dad struggled with it. And yet it was true for us, true for my husband and I. And so, yeah, being willing to have hard conversations with others about what we were doing. Right. So I was solidly in my human for the first 40 years. And then 7 to 8 years, I was like in this exploration, discovery with my soul. And about 2 years ago, I had an experience. I was on a Tantra retreat where I felt my soul like click in. And what that means is that I can see what it meant for me was that I can see the souls in others and feel the purity and the love that is in everybody. And in a way, it's very transpersonal. It's like, oh, I don't have to like the human, but I can love the soul.
Can you define transpersonal? I don't think I can, but I think maybe what you said is a great demonstration of it.
Yes, I'm a tantrika, right? I do this work. I do intimate work with people, right? And I don't have to know them as a human, right? Because I'm actually having a 2-hour session and I'm working with their soul. So in that way, it's transpersonal because it's not about the personal and the personality of the human, although that's obviously part of what we're navigating, but it's trying to get their soul to express more.
Okay.
And so in the past 2 years, my relationship with the divine and with spirit has continued to deepen. And I feel God within me and in all of us. And I believe that we are all like a fractal of the same universal love. There's an interesting video on YouTube called The Egg, if people want to see a video of what that looks like.
Okay.
One of the most unexpected twists and turns of my life, and I've had many brave hearts, my path has not been linear, is that I've recently founded a church, and it's called the Church of Witness Sisterhood. And the point of that is to help create a sense of belonging for people And the church has presented itself as a way to do that. It's very new. It's still unfolding. You'll hear more about it, but there is not a dogma associated to it. It's a place where everyone is welcome, but there are some values and pillars to it. But that's where my journey has led me, which is, again, surprising and unexpected.
I have heard you say that you're following spirit.
Mm-hmm.
You're listening to spirit when you're making decisions, sometimes big decisions about your life.
Mm-hmm.
And we're talking like changing your business, changing your partner, changing your roommate.
Mm-hmm.
So can you tell me a little bit more about how those messages come through?
This is where I think like human design, which we've talked about in other episodes,
Mm-hmm.
is valuable of like, oh, how is it that like decisions come through me? How do I make them? And so for me, this is not going to be true for everyone because we're all different types. It's a sense of knowing. It's called clairgnosis or claircognizance is a term. And it's very hard to describe, but there's just like a sense in my body of like, yes, that's correct. And that doesn't happen like someone asks me a question. I'm like, oh, that's what I should do. Like that, it takes time. And I can be like, oh, I'm in the fog. So if I feel confused, there's a sense of confusion and lack of clarity, then I'm like, oh, I'm not in the place of groundedness to make a decision yet. And then at some point, and it could be that I've done a lot of research, time has passed, like more information has come in, and then suddenly like it's like the fog and confusion clears and there's a moment of clarity and I'm like, oh, now that's the decision. And the fascinating thing is that's not the hard part, right? That's a step, and it does take attunement and discernment to discover when that moment happens. But then, like in the case of the church, like that moment happens and I'm like, what the fuck? That's what the truth is? Like, that's what I'm supposed to be doing? That's what my like divine knowing is telling me is that I should start a church? I'm like, oh my gosh. So the next step is to then have to like let go of the conditioning of what my inner knowing, when my inner knowing is in conflict to what I have been told or to what my judgments are or to what I think I'm supposed to do.
Yeah. So the way that you're talking about spirit is indicating that it is a different being than your rational thought. And it's almost like it comes in and it meets your rational thought and they're having a little tussle, right? Because you're like, what? I'm supposed to do what? So I think what I'm hearing is it sometimes surprises you. What?
It surprises me, and there sometimes can be resistance. But, so for example, when I got the message, right, to move into the goddess temple, but I was like, but wait, it's so expensive. How am I going to afford this?
This was also what I said to you.
Yes.
By the way, I was like, what are you doing? Are you fucking kidding me?
And so then and every month I'd be like checking in, and I'm like, nope, you're supposed to stay here. And then I was like, okay, well, I'm going to Airbnb it. And then the message was like, no, you're not. And I'm like, what do you mean? No, I'm not. Like, how am I supposed to afford this? And so I've been on this journey. And so the journey is actually how quickly can I drop the resistance to what I feel is the divine message coming through.
And so what's been your journey with the resistance? Like, are you like used to be 2 hours, used to be a month? Now, I don't want to quantify it too much, but it seems like you flow much easier into these decisions than you used to.
Yes. I would say, yeah, I mean, I just made a really big decision yesterday. Like a decision came through regarding health insurance of like, mundane things. Yeah. And then I was like, oh, okay, that's the decision. Wow. It's no surprise today, but like a month ago, and certainly in every other time in my life, I would have been like, there's no way I'm making that decision.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I would have like fought against it and been like, no. Like I have to have health insurance and it has to look a certain way and it has to be like this. And I was like, oh, okay, I hear you. That's what's happening. What I believe is that the resistance I have to this hit of intuition or to this divine message is where my suffering lies.
Mm-hmm. Boom. That is so true. Yeah, definitely resonates. The resistance to this divine message is where the suffering lies.
Mm-hmm. And the resistance is my mind, my conditioned mind, what I've been told, what I'm supposed to do, what everyone else does, what are people going to think, judgments about
Rules,
me
society.
by others, all of that, right? That's where the resistance is like, you can't do that thing. You can't like follow the truth of what's coming out of you because blah, 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 blah.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah. And so how long it has taken me, this is a journey, right? The journey has been, how quickly can I come back to center when that resistance comes in and follow what feels true for me?
Yeah. And I just can immediately relate and know that I have been in such resistance to so many things, you know, like, and it is such a hard journey and so much suffering.
Mm-hmm. And, you know, we've said on this podcast, right? Like one of the pillars of our podcast is figuring out what you want and asking for it.
Which is directly related to this. Yeah.
Right. And so figuring out what you want to me is understanding and listening to your intuition and the divine that's coming through you. Mm-hmm. And then being willing to ask for it despite fears, judgments, conditioning, expectations that are different.
And maybe I would adjust that to say, be willing to ask for it and be willing to act upon it.
Mm-hmm.
Because we don't really always need to ask.
That's true.
You know, this can be about staying home with
personal thing. Mm-hmm.
Yes. I mean, and I just want to give examples. I mean, this runs everything from like not going home for Christmas to to staying home with your child instead of working, to getting Botox, not getting Botox, to leaving your partner, to quitting your job, to moving. Like it can be very small or very big. But when we let that message come in and we stop the resistance, we definitely stop suffering. Is there any tips you can say about how you let go of the resistance?
The steps that are required are trust. Mm-hmm. Trust.
There's no steps, just one word.
And there's trust. And trust and valuing. Trusting what my intuition is saying and then valuing what it has to say. Mm-hmm. But I also want to bring up, I had a conversation with a woman in my women's circle a couple months ago, and she was mentioning, she's like, I feel so far from my spirituality. She's in the process of moving houses to a different country. She's like, I'm just in the logistics all the time. And my response was like, oh, I feel that when you're in the logistics about something like that, like you're in your spiritual state all of the time, because every question, you're going inward. Like, what movers should we hire? What date should we move? What city should we move to? What house are we buying, right? When you go into a house and you go around and you're feeling, okay, can I feel myself here? Is this the right school district for the kid? Like all of these things, who's answering the question? Is it someone outside of you? Is it the realtor who's telling you where to buy the house? Or are you going inward to make the decision? So in this way, I feel that our spirituality does not exist when only exists when we're sitting at an altar, right? Our spirituality, we walk that path. It's a state of being of like coming inward and asking ourselves, what's true for me for this? What's true for me for that? And these are not quote unquote spiritual questions. These are the human experience. Yeah. But like having our divine guide our human experience.
Okay. Yeah, I love that description of bringing it back to the human experience and bringing it into everyday living. It's not about, the ritual. It's about presence, being present with yourself.
Yes. And I do think presence is actually is a spiritual state, right? When we are just with our attention and intention to be present is, in a way, becoming one with the divine.
And Janelle, how do you feel that having a relationship with spirit helps you find peace amidst the suffering in this world?
I believe that when people feel connected to their soul, it's so tender and exquisitely beautiful. And there's this this like permeating feeling of love that my innate response is that I want others to feel that too. And so I know I cannot stop the suffering that's going on in the world, but I am drawn to help people feel connected to their own soul, which in turn leads to less suffering. But I'm doing it one person at a time.
One person at a time. And I would say you're also doing it now, perhaps, with the Church Witness Sisterhood.
And the Goddess Temple, and Feel Wildly Alive, my company, and Permission to Be Human. Like I actually really feel that my entire life is integrated and weaved together. Like my stance on this affects, like I walk through the world and I don't withhold my, I'll say, soul reflection. Like I don't withhold reflecting someone's soul to them at any point, right? If they're a client and they're paying me money for that, then I do that. If it's a stranger on the street and our paths cross and there's an like that opportunity presents itself, I'm not like forcing myself on anyone, but if it's in a conversation, it comes up, then I do that. With my friends who need support, I do that. Like it's just that some people only are going to be in my presence if they become clients, and some people it's like a 5-minute random passing in the street.
Yeah.
But it's part of it. Just is who I am, and it is what I do no matter what and no matter where I am.
Does that mean your relationship with spirit gives you the capacity to directly support the less fortunate?
Yes, but I think what's unique perhaps is that I would define the less fortunate as anyone who doesn't have a relationship with spirit or their own heart and their own truth. Because back to suffering, right? Like I could give someone $5 who's on the street, but that's not going to alleviate their suffering.
Yeah.
But if I can reflect their soul back to them in such a way that there's a chance that a little bit of their suffering can be alleviated. And so like there's this like tangible quality. If I try to alleviate the suffering as the suffering, there's always more suffering. I can't do anything about that. All I can do is like shine a light on, hey, your soul is pointing you in this direction. It's up to you, and it's up to them if they want to follow it or not. It's not about me at all. I just have this capacity and ability to say, oh, I see this next step that might be useful for you if you want to take it.
How does your relationship with spirit then impact your other relationships in your life?
Well, as I said, right, I did not have a relationship with spirit, 10 years ago. And so now I have a deep trust of myself in my relationship with spirit within me. And that extends then to others, to friends who they trust their relationship with spirit. Doesn't have to look exactly like mine does. They don't actually have to have, like, their intuition can be totally different than mine. I have zero attachment to what their relationship looks like I just trust their own knowing.
I think this has come up for me as my life has shifted. Can you tell me about a time when there was a conflict because you were interacting with someone who didn't know themselves, who didn't believe in spirit? What happens when two people are interacting that operate from in such different paradigms?
Like people that I'm in conflict with essentially just like kind of fall away. You know, like I work for myself. I don't have children. There's no PTA. There's no neighbors. I'm not in relationship, in all honesty, with people who I don't have to be in relationship with.
Yeah. So I want to rephrase because I get that. But what if someone you have been in relationship with cannot listen to spirit?
Yeah. So
that's asking for a friend.
So it's like I just offer compassion. There's no judgment. I cannot force anyone to listen to spirit. No matter, and this is maybe a lesson from my dad and anyone who's evangelical, right? I can feel, I have such an open heart and desire for someone to have a relationship to spirit because it's been so nourishing for me. But that is not my path. Like that's their path. And no one can judge the timing for somebody else. And so it's just the acceptance. And I actually think one of the biggest challenges that I have to face and hold is the capacity to hold the pain in my heart of watching someone else struggle and suffer. And there's nothing I can do about it. But I can love them with compassion for where they're at in the moment. And I might change my behavior, not towards them, but like if my, in friendships, right, there's a reciprocity that makes a friendship feel nourishing and fulfilling, right? And these days, like my wisdom does come through this like spiritual soul reflecting lens. So if someone doesn't receive that from me, then it's not actually very fulfilling to hang out. Not because I'm forcing myself on them, but because they don't feel seen by me and they don't see me. Yes. So in that way, the relationship does change. It does fall away. It doesn't mean I don't like them, but it does mean I probably won't see them and hang out with them as often.
How would you suggest, just kind of starting to wrap up and get into the how-tos, and how would you suggest someone find their deepest belief or spiritual path if they're seeking? Like, what's a great first step?
To spend time alone and listen to your body. Some people say quiet your mind, but I think that that's impossible. Instead, like imagine you're at a concert and the music is playing really loud. And someone you love is talking to you, but you have to get really quiet, stop dancing, like lean in and listen really hard in order to hear them.
Yeah.
That's your body talking. And the music, that loud music, is your mind.
It's a great analogy. I never heard you say that.
I know. You came up with it just for this podcast.
Really, I love it. It's so good. I'm just gonna they need to carry that away. That's like a post. Okay. And what, I feel like we already talked about this, but what are the rituals and practices in your life around this relationship with spirit?
I honor my body, my human body. I treat it as my temple. I get enough sleep. I eat when I'm hungry. I drink a lot of water. I nourish myself with massage and touch. And it's so simple on the one hand, but I recognize when I was in my stage of, I would say, only to like 3 years ago, right? I would deny myself food for a variety of different reasons. And I just wouldn't be listening and paying attention to my body. And a lot of people don't get enough sleep. Our culture is just like, go, 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 go. up late,
Yeah.
get up for work early, do all these things. And I think sleep is sacrosanct. And so the more I'm just like, oh, because if my body is nourished, then there's less noise in the body. The other thing is, another way I could describe my spiritual path, right, is that I follow my pleasure. I believe our pleasure is sacred and our birthright. And pleasure can be expressed in so many different ways. Yes, there's sexual pleasure. There's also erotic pleasure. But ultimately, if I want to do something because it makes me feel good, that is spirit moving through me. So I've had to develop this skill of being able to discern when desire is coming from my mind versus coming from my heart. And when I feel it in my heart, my practice is to listen and follow it as quickly as possible with as little resistance as possible.
Oh, such a great conversation with you. You would think I knew all this already, but I'm still learning from you.
But I'm
Wow.
still learning, right? Like, so, like there's no destination. There's no like, oh, I can check the spiritual box.
Yes.
I mean, I expect myself to continue to expand and learn about my own relationship with spirit for the rest of my life.
Yeah. Thank you for being so vulnerable and so open about this path. I really can't think of anything else that's closer to the meaning of life. This is how profound this feels to me. Like that's just, it all comes back to this. So
yeah, thank you. That feels true. And I think in this way, it's how it now feels aligned with it's not my purpose. It just is the purpose of life. Like the meaning of life is this freedom, this liberation from what's outside, right? Because when we listen to what's inside, it feels free. A teacher said recently, it's not about the freedom from self, from our ego. It's the freedom of self, right? That we just allow what this intuition, our heart, this divine message when we just allow it to express, like that's what freedom is.
thank you, friend. Thank you, Brave Hearts, for listening.
Thanks, Brave Hearts. Thanks, Andrea. I feel
feel alive now. We'll see you on the next episode of Building Relationship with Spirit. Bye-bye.
Hey, Bravehearts, looking for permission?
Work with us. We offer Brave Heart coaching.
Follow us on Instagram.
Meet us in real life at a Brave Heart conversation.
Subscribe to our newsletter.
Do all this and more at our website, permissiontobehuman.live.